You got a new shirt.
I did. I didn't think.
What do you have to say to the blog? We're talking about taxes today because I just spent.
Oh, let's not bring that up.
What's up, YouTube? How's it going? First off, I just want to say thanks so much for subscribing and following along. You know, I've only been doing this for like around 6 weeks now, and as I'm filming this, I'm just about to hit 1,300 subscribers, which is really awesome for such a short period of time. So I just really appreciate you guys watching, and I'm glad that this is valuable for you and worth your time. By the way, we are like a bit behind on the edits right now. My editor, Francis, had a problem with his computer for a while, so we're still catching up a little bit. But we've got a new rig now, and should be way better. So expect them to be coming out more frequently and more quickly to when they were actually filmed, which is something I really want. So as you saw by the title of this video, I have to make a large donation to the government today, quarterly taxes. So let me figure out how much that is. Well, shit. So I actually thought this was going to be a little worse today because sometimes like you have the federal ones due and sometimes you have the state ones or both due, and it seems like for this period only the federal one is due. I'm going to check my paperwork in a second, but it seems like just the federal one is due. So this is basically like your last year's tax, federal tax divided by quarterly that you're supposed to prepay, which sucks once you have a business at that level. Some people might have ways to figure out how to avoid that, but I don't know. Great news, I only have to send $15,500 to the government today. So the California ones, it actually split it up into like 3 payments. So like 1 or 2 of them were bigger, so it actually isn't 4 payments. So yeah, only $15,594. It's a pretty good deal, right? Actually, just coincidentally, I have to pay my accountant, so that's $450. But that's not exactly related. That's just for their monthly, or I don't even know if that's every month. I forget. But that's basically for them to do bookkeeping, to, you know, do all my tax preparation, stuff like that. But that's a regular thing. That'll be a good time for me to get into one of the really common questions, which is like, how do you pay taxes? Blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you figure that out? And this is like that category of question where it is not for you to figure out. It's kind of like what I said about freight forwarding. It's like you're not the one getting your shipments through customs. For most of you, you're not going to be the one figuring out your tax situation, nor should you. Nor should you be listening to random YouTubers on the internet for tax advice. I am for sure not an expert. I have basically no idea what I'm doing with taxes. I have a professional CPA who has had experience with e-commerce businesses, and I pay them money and they figure it out. That's a lot of what being a business owner is, you know, like with all these weird things like taxes and logistics, typically pay a professional. I mean, but long story short, I mean, an Amazon business is income. You're going to be taxed as income like any other business. Personally, I have an LLC, which is taxed as an S Corp, which does have some minor savings, I guess, past a certain level. You shouldn't think about that until I think you're making like well into the 6 figures, I believe. Otherwise, it won't be worth it because it does require more complex accounting. But then I think it allows for, don't quote me on this, but I think it allows for the section of your income that is not taken as personal to be taxed at a little bit lower of a bracket, I believe. So it's like, so say you pay yourself $50,000, but there's more profit than that in the actual business. It doesn't all pass through as personal income, I believe, as an S Corp, but there's a small advantage. Talk to an accountant for everything. But yeah, that's just a broad point in general, is like, I feel like a lot of people try to figure out things outside of their realm, you know, and for something like accounting or like legal, or even I'll even throw the logistics stuff in there. talk to professionals. I mean, that's going to be money well spent. Like, you really want to spend, like, I would literally be spending, I can't even imagine how much work I'd have to put into trying to figure out like my taxes on my own in my current situation. So pay people. But yeah, in short, if you make a lot of money, you're going to pay a lot of taxes. That's just what it is. So I know like there's a lot of talk about the rich don't pay taxes, and I'm sure that there are some really crazy things going on with like corporations, stuff like that. But for most business owners, you're going to pay taxes. Yeah, I'm sure there's really some complicated ways of deferring that by like starting other businesses, weird real estate things. I'm not at that level yet. I'm still trying to work my way up to that as well. As for now, when I make a lot of income, I pay a lot of taxes, and that's just the name of the game. So the reason it really sucks, and the aspect of this where taxes really do piss me off, is because you can't write off inventory until it sells. So, rough example, say on paper it makes it look like you made 100K last year, but you have 100K invested into inventory. Well, you still have to pay, so technically you have no money, right? But you have to pay taxes on that income, that 100K, even though you've invested it into inventory. So you can't count it as a write-off until that inventory sells. So that's just another thing that makes cash flow even more difficult in a physical products business. And it's especially frustrating because I could be using that money to grow my business and create jobs and like higher salaries. I mean, the amount of money I pay in taxes when I still have that money in inventory, so it's not even in my pocket in the first place, that money is still in inventory. But if I could just hang on to that tax money, I could hire multiple full-time salaried employees for that same amount of money that I am bleeding out to the government as I try to grow a business. And that is where it really gets fucked up and frustrating, because we feel like, oh, a business owner, like a rich person, should have to spend so much money on taxes, like fuck them. But the reality of it is, it's like that money for me trying to do a good thing and trying to make a real quality business that helps people and helps and provides a good product. The truth is that I could be creating jobs and building that business and doing good things with that money. So that's where it really sucks to have to just write these fat checks. And again, I know it's only 15 grand. Well, or it's that might seem like a lot or a little, but the thing is that's not even close to what I pay over the whole year. That's just a quarter of my federal income tax. And so that is where it really just gets fucked, because it's like I could be creating actual jobs, like I'm talking salaried positions for that money, but instead it's like, oh shit, I need to be keeping this money aside. Meanwhile, all my money is in inventory. I need to be keeping this money aside for taxes. So it makes it even scarier to go out and hire more people, things like that, do things to actually grow a respectable, real business in America. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to just bitch and complain, because honestly, I still think like the US is probably one of the greatest. I mean, it's like so much. I mean, I'm thankful for the opportunity to even play this game. It's amazing, but I wish there was some sort of diversion for businesses that are relatively new or growing at a certain pace to be able to keep those profits, not out of greed, but out of the ability to use those profits to do things like create jobs and do things like scale and get to a point where you'll have so much more impact. Because it's really hard to be bleeding that kind of cash as a starting up, as basically a startup business that is already being so strapped on inventory costs, because I'm already scaling and throwing so much back into inventory. It just makes it that much harder to have to prepay and just pay in general a huge amount of taxes, not even factoring in the inventory. The inventory is the part where it really makes it weird. If you could just write off the inventory, well then on paper my profit would look like basically nothing, because I put so much back into inventory in order to scale, in order to sell more products. But if you were able to write that off, then it would be diverting taxes. So, and eventually if you make a whole bunch of money, then you should pay taxes. I have no problem with taxes. It's just, well, I mean, there's some problems with taxes, but I don't know. I won't get into all of that, but yeah, I mean, I hope that's a little interesting. It sucks, it's just the way it is. Not a ton you can do about it. I do think as I grow even more, like I'll probably get into some more interesting legal, of course. I'm not talking about like shady stuff, but there are legitimate ways to divert your taxes. I'm just not quite at that level. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is. You got to pay it, and it's if you made a lot last year, you're gonna pay a lot this year. So it's just part of the game. Random, but writing fucking checks, like, I hate archaic shit. I hate going to the DMV. I hate mailing shit. I hate writing shit. Like, what the fuck are we? It's fucking 2017. Just feel goofy as fuck every time I do something like this. I actually got to run these to the post office. I actually started this vlog pretty late in the day. Had a really interesting meeting with a hustler in the area that I met through the videos. So if you're an interesting person also, I'd love to meet you. It's so cool that I'm meeting cool people. But yeah, so I started this kind of late. Got to run these there, make sure they go out today. You got a new shirt.
I did. I didn't think.
What do you have to say to the blog? We're talking about taxes today because I just spent.
Oh, let's not bring that up.
What are your thoughts on taxes?
I don't know. I had a normal job. I don't know. I don't have to pay $1 million.
What are your thoughts on Trump?
Oh.
All right, that's it for today. What do you think about taxes? What would you do if you had that money in your business? Like, subscribe, share, all of that. Lots more to come.
Oh, taxes.